The following is brought to you by National Public Radio, Miami. Back again. They like the pod better with my best friends. Got Eric here.
Yeah.
No more Doval.
Fuck him.
That guy can suck on my balls. Yeah.
Yeah. Ooh, I like this riff. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Welcome to the show.
Woo.
Yeah.
I like this combination, you and me. This is the first time this could happen.
Yeah, I love it.
This is great.
It's understandable. Audio quality is through the roof. Likable personalities, just a fun-loving couple of dudes. You know, here to talk about everyone's favorite fantasy football league, the BDFFL. So, how's your year been, man?
You mean like in general or my fantasy year? My real year has been great. I've been so happy, so fulfilled with everything that's going on. My fantasy year...
Oh, man. That's amazing.
Thanks, man. Fantasy year sucked. Really bad. But you know what? I'm going to stick with positive vibes because you know what? I still have something that I'm going for, and that's the number one pick. I still have that shot, and that's what it's all about. Yep. That's what the league's all about. Even if you're eliminated, you could think about next year. And I definitely want to be out of the bottom of the bracket. I don't want to be getting the baby dick again. But you know what I was thinking right now?
You don't want a mural,
is that we could probably do every combination of the four of us except for Doval and I. I don't know how the hell I don't think that podcast will be released. I think it'll be like 4 hours of us yelling, and then we're like, oh shit, none of us know how to upload this.
Devolving into like just WrestleMania talk, like, oh yeah,
step into a Slim Jim, brother.
Okay, so let's get into it. We're going to relive your wonderful season. So let's get in the reviews. We don't have any music as we are doing the budget version of the show.
All right.
Today, so we're going to have to kind of like guess it. So we'll do it on the count of three. 1, 2, 3, and then you're like, bum.
All right, guys. Hey, guys, it's everyone's favorite QB, Patrick Mahomes. Eminem and Ryan's game was dead on arrival. I would like to apologize to Ryan for getting hurt. People say I just looking at my knee, but really Miss Piggy and I were trying some Karma Sutra, and it got a little out of hand. Speaking of Karma Sutra, Kamara was out for Eminem, but gee whiz golly, was Murray good? Eminem with the upset, 99.8 to 79.3. Thank you, Robinson.
Oh man, that was pretty good. Coming up next is Ben versus myself. I take Ben to Pound Town 122.9 to 100.4. Does anybody want to hear me talk about myself and how good my team is? No? No? Okay. All right, I win. Moving on. He's 3 and 4.
This is your commander-in-chief, the Don, Twitter handle at POTUS45. I have the pleasure of calling Doval's game. I mean, really great guy. Couldn't be better. Versus Little Danny. The final score says little bitch boy Danny won because he outplayed every position against Chris. Fake news! That's what the ESPN Lame Street Media wants you to think. They want you to think that Chris is bad and a fraud, but he's really, really the greatest. Even after the total sham of a game, Doval is still 5 and 2. Final score, dynamic Doval 78, little Danny 99.
Oh, thank you, Commander-in-Chief. Thank you for joining us on the show today. Next up, Josh versus Nieves. Josh takes this one down 99.3 to 56.5. Josh is victorious in the Bipocalypse Poopy Bowl. Huge missed opportunity for Nieves as he could have knotted up Doval this week at 5 and 2 for the division lead, but instead Joshua rights the ship after a shaky start, and now his team is looking good for the rest of the season. Both of these guys knotted up at 4 and 3. Happier times ahead, but missed opportunity for Mr. Nieves. Next.
The Mushkin and Carlson game is an example of how trickle-down nosonomics doesn't work. It only benefits the top 0.1% of the 1% of the league. Let me just say that Mushkin's crumbling infrastructure of running backs needs to be built back up, and Carlson wishes there was a minimum point wage as he had only 4 players under 2 points. Mushkin, 68, Carlson, 54.6. Feel the burn.
Oh, thank you, Democratic candidate Bernie Sanders. Next up, George versus Justin. George puts the beat down on Justin's bald, stupid fucking head, 110 to 101.3. Pat's D made this one seem closer than it seemed.
Big D.
All the points were on a Monday night. This thing was well in hand. by George. 23 points. Really wasn't that close. For George, Zeke finally gets that 20-point game that he's been wanting so very, very badly. And what did this game come down to, you ask? Well, Justin's favorite thing that he was chirping about at the beginning of the season, that's right, kickers, right? So Justin had 101.3, and let's our friend here, George, had 110. So that means George had an 8.7 lead. If I go and I check out George's score, he had 13 from Greg Zerline, and Justin had 4 from Jake Elliott. That's a 9-point spread. So if there were no kickers in this game, Justin would have won by 0.3 points, but he didn't. I hope you didn't put a deposit down for that mural, fuckboy. Oh man, because that's not gonna happen. I'm gonna make you my bitch. I'm gonna use your bald head as a coaster on the golf course. I can't wait for it. It's done. Next.
Either way, I wrote this league wins no matter who wins there. I ran out of voices. Kevin steamrolled the fuck out of me with a week high of 141 to 79.3. Bravo, Kevin.
Yeah. Bravo, Kevin.
All right. Week 7 in the books, guys.
Low scoring week, man.
It was
low scoring week across the board.
Overall,
I'm shocked Kevin got a 141. That was really good.
I mean,
my team performed, but
yeah. I mean,
across the board, it wasn't good.
Carlson Mushkin game, super low scoring, and that's definitely how Mushkin luck works. I mean, he scored 68.1 points. That's like my average the last 3 weeks. I didn't even get fucking close to winning a game with 68 points.
No, there's no way.
Forded out a victory there. But,
Doval took it out of I think Doval has kind of sucked Mushkin luck from his body, but that may be running out for him too since he lost. But
ooh.
I did. No, I'll get to some stats that I ran on his team during our matchup.
He was really close to being a part of that new segment that we have coming up. A little.
Oh, what a tease!
You like that,
dude? That's a tease. Yeah, like that's good.
That's a home run.
That's a home run, guys. Not relevant, but remember, this is the budget national public radio version of the podcast coming to you today, so we have limited drops.
But we still have our sponsors. The next segment is sponsored by Nostonomics. Having performance issues with your D? Your D isn't lasting as long as it used to? For a small fee, the people over at Nostonomics will share their proprietary D software, which will improve your performance and will make your D last a lot longer than it did all season. Nostonomics is not just for fantasy, I swear.
Nice. All right, so let's get into the waiver wire. Last week's waiver wire, not a lot to review. Not a lot of money moving. Not even a lot of claims. This week, however, was a big difference. There's big bombs dropping. Of course, everybody saw the first move of the year that Murray Death Kill made. Literally the first pickup he's made. He's had 0. Was for Ty Johnson, $82. And my sources tell me that he, in fact, wasn't going to do that, but he was contacted by Chris, the puppeteer, who seems to now have Danny Nieves back in the fold, and commanded him to make that pickup in order to frustrate Mushkin's purposes after a trade fell through with Mushkin and Doval, as trades with Mushkin frequently do. So let's talk about the shittiest pickups of the week first here, Eric. Who do you got?
Well, just real quick, I mean, would you really believe anything that Doval says? I mean, listen to who was speaking for him before. Donald Trump was saying he's a good guy. So obviously that was all a lie.
I agree. I think it would be something that he's leaked in order to ruffle Mushkin's feathers. I don't believe it. I don't believe that Chris would actually go out and contact Danny. They have a blood feud, and Chris is far too proud to extend an olive branch first.
Absolutely. Obviously. And if anything, he would be trying to stop him and not help Mushkin. But
yeah, of course.
There was actually a lot of good pickups this week. I have a couple honorable mentions.
We're going to talk about bad ones, though.
But this one's bad, and there's just being a little nitpicky. I have Josh's pickup of Brian Hill for $5.
Right.
Ito might be back soon. Freeman, I don't think is getting suspended for punching Aaron Donald. I mean, I feel like if you have the balls to punch Aaron Donald in the face, you shouldn't get suspended. I mean, did you see him just carrying him around and carrying him like a little boy?
Like a little baby. Just a little baby. He's just a little guy.
And on top,
Aaron Donald's not that tall, by the way.
Oh,
how tall do you think Aaron Donald is?
I would say he's, well, now that you said that he's not that tall, I'll say he's 6'2".
Yeah, actually right on the nose. But yeah, that's how it is. You think a guy like that would be 6'5" or 6'6", just some manimal, but he's just built like a barrel.
Yeah, I mean, he's like 350 and has 12-pack. It just defies logic when you look at him.
Yeah.
But Brian Hill, he's the third running back there for the Falcons. The Falcons are the fourth worst rushing team in the league. So even if the game script is they're down, they need to come back. Also, Matt Ryan might not be playing next week. It's not a huge investment of $5, and he dropped some guy named Dawson Knox. Who's that? Kicker? Is that a kicker?
That's tight end for the Bills.
Okay, so
he was the hot tight end streamer last week.
He didn't lose much, and he didn't invest whole lot in Brian Hill. And like I said, good week for everybody. But yeah, I didn't think Brian Hill was that good. Honorable mention, George picking up Wendell Smallwood. Terrible matchup on a short week against the Vikings on Thursday Night Football today, right, George? You're gonna put this out on Thursday morning.
Oh yeah, of course. He's Johnny on the spot with this thing. Actually, when I put it up, I give him enough time because the back end isn't bungled when I'm in charge here.
Okay, nice. Okay, so
shots across the bow.
Pew, pew, pew. And actually, I didn't really.
That's all I have.
Yeah, I know.
So I don't have like shots, so I'm gonna make do with that.
Yeah, that works though. Wendell Smallwood, yeah, it's a bad matchup and might end up being the starter. I'm more worried that he dropped Nelson Aguilar, who's on a team that's going to be constantly passing the ball. I would rather have kept Aguilar than picking up Smallwood. So that's my honorable mention there.
I like your picks, particularly the Brian Hill one. Mine's different, but the Brian Hill one, for a team that needs a spot start, all right, yeah, you take your shot and then hope that maybe if a suspension comes down for Freeman, you get a 1 week start because Ito is ruled out with a concussion this week, but he's coming back. But Josh doesn't need him, so I don't really see what his play there was. Maybe he was just playing keep away for his matchup, but that's his team is far superior in the matchup. Sorry, that's a tease. So I guess that's what he was doing, playing a little defense. So for me, my worst pickup is my favorite friend, my favorite caddy, my favorite golf buddy, who's going to be. By the way, I'm going to be getting like a pro bag. I'm getting my bag upgraded, so it'll barely fit on the cart.
You're gonna sort on Amazon by heaviest bag.
Oh yeah, it's Corinthian leather, just made like out of steel,
ironclad.
Yeah, but Eric Ebron, I mean, not is for $21 was Justin's pickup. I'm confused how this happened. I don't know. Did he accidentally press 21 or? I mean, I understand he needs a tight end, and he's clearly viewing this through the lens of his own team, as if he thinks that everyone is carefully examining every move that he's making. But he does not take that time to examine anybody else's team, and the fact that this would be like the 14th or 15th tight end ranked this week, and that everyone has somebody better already starting. So pick up Eric Ebron. Yeah, he might go off. But $21, that's asinine. No one else even bid on him. $21? What? I can't even find a waiver wire article that mentioned to pick it more than like $2. So I don't know what resources you're using, but reevaluate your strategy. Eric Ebron, terrible pick. So now let's not be so negative, and let's talk about those smart guys, best pickups of the week.
Well, the smarties first. We got to go off with Nieves, MDK, doing his first bid with a big splash here for T.Y. Johnson. It was just announced right before the waiver wire hit that Kerryon Johnson was going to be out on the IR, so he's going to be out for at least 6 to 8 weeks. So he looks like the next man up. I have an honorable mention. It was a lot of money that he spent, but everyone was bidding pretty high on him. Captain Kirk Mushkin was up there with 66. His buddy Ben, who I'm sure he talked up to him, and they were like on a Jewish bidding war for him. Bidding 57.
They're like, no, I'm not interested. No, I'm not.
No. I'm just asking to see if you're interested, but I'm not really interested. Are you?
He's like, no, I'm not. I'm just at the deli. I'm getting some gefilte fish.
Oh, gefilte fish. Where are you going? Oh my God. I mean, you got Spence is the best.
It's like, oh yeah, Rachel's daughter. It's her bat mitzvah. I was going to bring it over for the pre-party.
And you also bid it on him for 39. So there was a market for him. I think the sneaky pickup, because Ben also missed out. Oh, no, sorry. Ryan missed out on picking up the other guy, J.D. McKissick.
Yeah. Mwah! Yeah. There was a lot of action on McKissick.
And that was he bid out Ryan by $1. So the Hat Friends were really going after the Detroit running backs backfield. And he actually, I mean, very small sample size, but when this guy Carry-On got out, J.D. McKissick got less carries, but he got more yards per carry. So it looked a little better. Who knows who's going to be the guy? I like both pickups, though.
Yeah, you save your money all year for a shot like this, presumably a starting running back going forward. And not that it takes a rocket surgeon to figure out, but he put $82, which was $1 more than what Mushkin had. And, you're like, oh, duh, obviously. The dude hasn't even made one pickup all year. So it was questionable whether or not that would be executed correctly. My best pickup of the week is actually you, buddy.
It's
you with Kenny
It was a little bit of revenge of me picking him up over you.
Yeah, it kind of pisses me off. I mean, I got you with Lockett. You mean? I think
Right.
I think Kenny Stills is going to be awesome. I had traded for him early in the season from George and held him weeks and weeks and weeks. And then he pulled a quad or a hammy, a minor pull. But at that point, Will Fuller came back and had the 50-point game, and I was like, okay, it's enough time. Will Fuller's obviously established himself. I need to go elsewhere. So I drop him, and naturally, Will Fuller goes down with a very bad hamstring pull, which Will Fuller has been known to have. And Kenny Stills catapults to number 2 status in like a very prolific throwing offense where he has been making connections with Deshaun Watson. I think he has 4 touchdowns on the year, which is not bad at all for a receiver with the amount of routes that he's run. So now that you needed to make a move, your team is obviously garbage. So you went out, and I don't know what research you did, or you just kind of shot from the hip on what you thought you wanted to pay for this guy, but you outbid me by $1, 23 to 22. Where I was like, I got up and I was like, I lost him. Oh, I wonder what someone bid. And I saw I lost by $1. I was like, are you fucking kidding me?
I got a lot of messages about that too, because I didn't even know until I didn't know how close it was. I just saw, I was like, ooh, I got him. And I wasn't sure, I'm like, oh, I wonder if other people bid. I was like waiting for the show because I know I'm either gonna be the best or the worst. Like no one bid on him. What an idiot! Why did he bid so much? Or what a genius! So I was happy I was on the latter,
the genius side. Yeah. So we might prove to both be idiots, and he might because he has hamstring problems, and he might just get injured.
he might be dropped week 10,
and he might suck. But I was very much on the Kenny Stills train at the beginning of the year when he got traded to Houston. I thought he was going to take Will Fuller's job, and now it seems like that's going to happen, at least for the remainder of the season. So good pickup.
I feel bad for Mushkin because he was on the Google Hangouts at like 4:30 in the morning. So I imagine he probably stayed up playing WoW or something. And then he's like, you know what? I'm going to stay up a little bit later to see his waiver wires clear. And he made a bunch of bids, and he got no one because he bid on Kenny Stills, T.Y. Johnson.
He made a big error. Totally misvalued Kenny Stills. He actually, what he tells me is that no, he doesn't stay up all night. That he frequently does this. He frequently sets his alarm like at 4 a.m. during the fantasy football season to wake up and pick the waiver wire after things clear. I do not understand that, because you can set your waivers in such a manner that is totally unnecessary. However, some people don't think so. And so he says he's exhausted throughout the fantasy football season from waking up so early on Tuesdays. But moving on, why don't you introduce this segment? You came up with it. I think it's a good segment. I don't think it's going to make very many people happy.
Well,
but go ahead.
This isn't going to be. Oh, don't start the music yet. Don't start it yet.
Oh, okay, sorry.
That's the thing. Yeah, let me do some build up here. So this is not something that we're going to do every week, because then we're going to run out of teams to place this on. So this segment, we're going to announce who we are preemptively saying is going to be out of it. Not mathematically eliminated, but we're saying that team is done, and we're hanging the done chain on them. If you watch Barstool Sports, I didn't make this up. There's something that they do with teams.
No, we made it up.
We made it up. This is a BDFFL original segment.
Yeah.
The done chain, baby. Woo! So,
done chain, motherfucker. Yeah.
So me and Carlson already have the done chains on us preemptively before we even made this whole segment. So we don't count. Right. So Robin and I both have to give out a done chain, and I'm giving my done chain out to Captain Kirk, Stephen Mushkin. the 4 a.m. waiting for waiver wire motherfucker. And this week, I understand why he did it, because he lost some big guys. He lost Will Fuller. He lost Carry-On. Christian Kirk has been hurt all year. He's 4-3, but I think it's going to change, and he's going to miss the playoff. It might be a baby dick candidate. That's my pick.
My God.
Poor man.
Keeping in line with that, I'm going to take this chain. I'm going to lift it above this poor person's head.
Oh, no. Who is it?
And place it upon Ryan's shoulders.
Oh, my God.
And at the same time, I'm going to walk to the window of the hats. I'm going to take the championship window. I'm going to just slowly close it down.
Oof. Because
the championship window is over. Ryan's team is had some bad luck.
Yep.
And even though he's second points forward in the league, the loss of Pat Mahomes and the lack of any starting running backs, the fact that he has Joe Mixon, who is probably one of the biggest busts in the first round, doesn't matter that his core of wide receivers could bounce back, could be good. I think that that top half of his squad, the QB and 2 running backs, is going to weigh him down. I don't think he's baby dick material, but I think he's preemptively eliminated from the playoffs.
And that, my friends, is the Dun Chain.
That's the Dun Chain. Ryan.
Mushkin, hat friends, done.
All right, yeah. Well, thanks for listening, guys. You can send all your complaints to Eric Brunken at hilty.com. All right, so next coming up, we got the weekend previews. Let's fucking go. Yeah. Week 8.
Who's gonna win?
People's dreams are made.
Who's in? Who's out? Yeah. We're halfway through. Yeah. Well, 2 guys going, yeah, it's not good with this music.
No, it's good. This is good radio. Yeah. Just leave it. This is good. Yeah, week 8.
Oh, Matt.
Week 8.
Your mustache. Oh, that feels so nice. Jesus Christ.
Well, I mean, we're halfway through the season, right? Some people are pissed, but nobody is mathematically eliminated, like we mentioned before. So if you at 1-6, I mean, you probably have to win out at 7-6 to have a legitimate shot to make the playoffs. But 2-5, you still got a one loss sort of buffer. I consider 7-6 kind of the cut. You don't necessarily make the playoffs, but you certainly are going to be in a tiebreak situation for it.
Yeah, so absolutely.
Everything is sort of okay, here's the next chapter. Let's play our team going forward. And if you've seen anybody like Chris's team who has been overachieving and he's 5-2, you can do the same thing down the stretch. Never give up, never surrender. For all you shitty teams out there, and for all you good teams like me, just keep on doing what you're doing. You guys are the men.
Oh, you're lucky to get the Dun Chain. You're next. I know it.
Thank you. All right, so for our picks, I got to audit these because I don't fucking believe this at all. But Matt Martin says that there's a 3-way tie for first between Doval, myself, and Eminem with 23. And then somebody, Eric, has 20 and is in last, which is actually not that big a gap. Yeah. So everyone's been pretty close.
It's actually really sad that we're like 7 weeks in and we only have like 20 and 23 of these right, because there's 7 games every week. That's like we're below 500 on average.
Oh, so. Yeah, way below. That's why I got to audit these because he had put them way below before, and then we just did it, and then it my score jumped up to 19 from what was 13 before. So I'm gonna go back and check. I appreciate the work put in, but my feelings are hurt. So let's get into the first game. This is Ryan versus Ben. Both of these guys are coming off losses. And both of these guys are 3-4. So it's like a huge game for these guys this week. If obviously going 3-5, you're feeling more like a loser, and at 4-4, hope is reborn. Anything can happen at 4-4, but at 3-5, you're a sack of shit. Who do you think is going to win this one, Eric?
Well, I'm going to go with Ryan. I liked his pickup of Mason Rudolph this week against Miami. Joe Mixon, he's been so bad, like you mentioned before in the Dun Chain segment. But I think he's due. I believe that his talent will make him at least score a touchdown and have some viability this week. Jamal Williams has kind of been hit or miss, but I like his matchup against KC, and he still has good receivers and the number one tight end. So I think he's going to outclass Ben's team a little bit. Ben is starting Teddy Bridgewater, which is a good start against Arizona. Saquon Barkley is going to be at Detroit, whose defense is actually pretty good against the run. Josh Jacobs coming off a big week, but going against Houston. Not sure how that game script's going to go. DJ Shark is a good player. I really like him a lot. But who knows who Minshew, the mustache maniac, is going to be throwing to. And TJ Hawkinson has been really should be droppable if the tight ends weren't so putrid. I mean, hasn't done much. And Tyler Boyd, I could see this going either way, but I'm going to go with Ryan's team in a narrow victory.
Yeah, I do think these teams are closely matched, which I think it's due to the fact of the matchups and kind of lack of talent. My concern with Joe Mixon that you mentioned is that this is a matchup that he should be able to do well in, but he played against Arizona and only was able to put up 11 points. The Bengals' offensive line is so horrific that it's preventing him from doing anything.
Yeah.
And it's just a tough situation for Ryan. The Bears have not been as advertised. His early pick has not paid off. Like, they were looking good. Week 3 and 4 went 22 and 16 points, but then week 5 at Oakland, which should be easy points, 5 points. Then they had the bye. Then New Orleans steamrolled them, and they only had 1 point. So you don't know which Bears you're going to get. I anticipate they'll do well against the Chargers, but you never know. On the other side of the ball here, you mentioned Teddy Bridgewater against Arizona. I think Drew Brees is actually going to be back this week from the practice reports. That doesn't really change my mind that much, though, because there's equivalent quarterbacks, like as far as ranking, that are out there that he could start. And so it's like, okay, I buy it. There's a lot of questionable people for Ben and Saquon Barkley and Josh Jacobs who they didn't practice Wednesday, but it's Wednesday, and I think that they're going to play. And I think that if I think that Ben, between Tyler Boyd and Julian Edelman and DJ Shark and Josh Jacobs, I think all those guys have decent matchups. I just don't think Ryan's going to have the same firepower because his matchups are terrible. His playmakers in Odell Beckham and Mike Evans are at Tennessee and at New England, which are not good places to play in. Austin Hooper, who is literally the number 1 tight end on the year, who would have thought? Matt Ryan may not play, and if he plays, he's going to have a hurt ankle. So I don't think that's going to happen. And Pat Mahomes, who is holding down this team, we know he's not playing. Yeah, he's practicing limited. That's bullshit. That's Andy Reid trying to get them to review a bunch of Pat Mahomes tape instead of Matt Moore tape. And yes, he has Mason Rudolph against Miami, so that gives him hope. But I just think the quality of player across the board for Ben is better. So I got to go with Ben here. It would be unfair of me to have given the chain of "you're done" to Ryan and then pick him, right? Like,
you're done. You're gonna win this week and probably next week, but you're done, dude.
Which it's been a long time since Ryan has been in a losing scenario, so
that's true.
I'm gonna see if he's gonna fight till the end, because the trade deadline is approaching, or if he's gonna sell, and if he does sell, what he wants. So, all right, you got anything else?
No, let's move on to the next matchup.
All right, let's move on. The next one, this is a fucking heavyweight battle, both in reality and in fantasy football. 2 fat guys, 2 really good teams. This is Robinson versus Doval. Both of us 5-2. Both of us at the top of the division.
This is Eric's game of the week.
Oh yeah.
Here, well, let me go first, so you're not talking about your team for too long here. I've met, like Trump mentioned before, or kind of pretended that he didn't mention. Duvall's team is a fraud. They haven't been scoring a lot of points, and his team isn't looking that good. He has some good matchups: Sony Mitchell against Cleveland, Todd Gurley against Cincinnati, Matthew Stafford against the Giants. But after that, it's really scary. And Calvin Ridley, you would think he gets an upgrade with Mohamed Sanu leaving the team, but if Matt Ryan's not going to play, I honestly see
he needs Matt Ryan to play.
Yeah, he needs
for sure.
Yeah, for sure. I see Austin Hooper maybe getting a little bump because Matt Ryan's not playing. The backup might rely more on the tight end. But I don't think Calvin Ridley is going to get that bump. So I don't like a lot of his matchups. And Dallas Goedert, I mean, he's just hoping that Zach Ertz doesn't get all the targets just because Dallas.
Which has been happening, though.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a smart play. But, I mean, I don't want to play Ertz at Buffalo either. But I think it's kind of a wash.
I mean, he's averaging half as many points a week as Zach Ertz. So I don't think it's a great matchup. Saints against Arizona, that's a good matchup. I mean, he has some boomer bust plays. But I don't like Mark Walton. Say hi to your mother for me.
Say hi to your mother for me. Yeah, Mark Waltenberg.
Hey, whatever. So I think your Carlos Hyde in the flex is way better. And just up and down, your team looks poised to win.
I mean, I can't disagree with you, but first of all, I'll say this. On top at the Reddit, on this the fantasy football subreddit, there was a calculator that you put in your ESPN league, and it simulates as if you played every team every week based on everyone's players, and then gives you like what your overall record would be. And
tell me what Duval's is.
Duval is literally 13th out of 14.
Yes,
that way.
Am I 14th?
No, you're like
you're
way above him.
Yeah, Duval, did you hear that? I'm way fucking better than you. My record doesn't show it, but now you know it.
So this team is the most incredible fraud. I mean, statistically, it is incredibly impressive that he is 5-2. I mean, against all odds, it must be a lower than 5% chance that he can get to 5-2 based on his scores week to week. He had to be playing either the second or the lowest person every week to achieve that with his point total. So kudos to him. That said, he's made a trade this week. He moved Julian Edelman. He's made a couple trades. He acquired Todd Gurley, who's get back healthy. He moved Julian Edelman, got Sony Michel, who is not a shining beacon of yardage. He's got 2.5 yards a carry or something. But when it gets cold, the Patriots seem to run. And from just a power rankings standpoint, the numbers rate him as high as he's ever been, which is 7th out of 14. But for the week, that's not bad. Your top half, that's puncher's range. He could definitely win with the pieces that he's had. So credit to him, because I think his team was a lot fucking worse before he made his trades. And the trade from Mohamed Sanu is huge for him, because now he can really rely on Calvin Ridley. I mean, the news out early is that Matt Ryan is going to play, but that's also coach speak. They're always going to say their QB is going to play early in the week, so that they don't tip off the other team, that they don't need to review the tape. But my team is an upper tier team. You went over the reasons why, and I think I'm going to win. I think my matchups are also pretty good. I think
that's a pretty good strategy by the Falcons coordinators. If they're like, I don't want you guys watching our tape from the last 7 weeks of Matt Ryan or any of our tape. We're actually way better than that. So believe me.
Believe me. But I anticipate Doval's going to pick himself, and it's been working for him. So I am worried. I am very worried. I would not be shocked if I lose.
He would probably pick himself. Eminem picked you, and then last game he picked Ben, for the people keeping track at home. Next up, we have myself versus Carlson in what would be the shit game of the week.
Yeah.
I'm 1-6. Carlson's 2-5.
Yeah.
We're both. It's not looking good. I've had 3 bad weeks. Before that, I was putting up decent points. Some bad moves by me. Some unfortunate things that have happened. I think I've gotten at least a hold of my team where I could be putting up hopefully 80 to 90 points a game, but really I can't guarantee that because it hasn't happened in 4 weeks. All that being said, yes, I scored, I think it was like 58, 64, 79. So like I'm on pace to be scoring 140 points by the championship, but it's probably going to be for the wrong championship. Carlson, as I pointed out in the chat today, played for the Baby Dick last year and vowed to come back as this phoenix
rising from the
coming out of the ashes. rising from the ashes, and doesn't look like that's gonna happen. He's had some unfortunate injuries. Devontae Adams is hurt. Adam Thielen got a little boo boo. He's feeling a little bad.
Oh, wow!
Little cheeky right there. Thank you for that. I do like to start in Ryan Tannehill, which of course
Who doesn't?
I like picking up any Dolphin to another team. All of a sudden, it becomes
they
great.
ball out.
Yeah, I mean that's why I picked up Kenny Stills. That's why whoever has Kenyon Drake, hold on to him because I think it's Kevin. Hold on to him. Eventually, he's gonna get traded.
No, it's Doval, right? Yeah.
No, I think it's Kim.
Oh, okay.
Oh, right. Maybe so. I don't know. Whatever. We'll look at it later. But to this matchup, I don't like any of his players, and I don't like I don't like their chances. I don't like Terry McLaurin versus Minnesota, Peyton Barber, just in general against Tennessee. David Montgomery has been abysmal. Ryan Tannehill might be his leading scorer this week, and second to his kicker, Chris Boswell, against Miami. So I really like my matchups this week, and I think my guys are turning in the right direction. Who do you
got? I totally agree. I'll just cut to the chase. I picked you this week. I've picked you in other weeks. You kind of let me down, but I'm gonna go with you again.
It's the only way I'm caught up because I pick against myself, I lose, and then I start working my way up.
I mean, the numbers like you know, like by a significant margin. Carlson said, I talked to him last week. Obviously, you got to poke around for trades, you know. And I was like, so what happens this week? If are you going to be selling if you lose? You go to 2-5. He's like, no, my schedule opens up here. I don't even care if I lose. I'm going to play the easier teams in the league in the next coming weeks. So there's no way I sell. But he says that, and then I look at the auction report, and he still got OD. And I'm looking here. I'm trying to find. Oh no! Yep. Any waiver claims? They put one in. Not putting one in. So
yeah, not one.
I guess he's too proud to sell, which is a mistake.
I think he spends way more time changing his team name than he does looking at the free agency.
It's what I hope he doesn't fall victim to this. Whereas if he's given up on his team, he does nothing. Because you got to keep at it through the season. He should know more than anybody. I know that he's got a lot of close bites at the apple as far as the championship and playoffs and things, and he might have fatigue in the sense that he's just disappointed and doesn't even want to look at it. But he needs to keep churning the roster to try and get some keepers, or trade out some of your pieces and trade for keepers if you want to sell. But fucking don't just go on autopilot. That's pathetic. I mean, it's good for you. I know you want to win. Because he's got Oakland D in there.
Oh, yeah.
But I picked up Colts D for $0. He would totally start Colts D at home against the Broncos this week.
The thing is, you could be doing both at the same time. You could be building for the future and trying to win, because trying to win means that you're going to be higher in the loser bracket and have a better pick. So you are doing both things at once.
And not to shit on his team anymore, but I didn't like that he didn't make any claims, and he still has Raiders D in there is at Houston. It's that's terrible. It's obviously he's not paying attention. But to focus on your team, obviously you made a couple trades. You went for the future, but I still think you can compete, and you have a couple guys that are injured and have come back, and I like the way the team is shaping up. Terrell Williams practiced this week. You got him in the flex. He's proven to be Derek Carr's number one target and get a lot of action. I think as a flex, that's awesome. Courtland Sutton is a top 12 receiver this year. He's 12th on the year. So that's a wide receiver one. So don't let anybody let that deceive you. The fact, Courtland Sutton's his number one receiver. It's probably better than your number one or number two receiver. Kenny Bills, who we've been talking about we haven't stopped talking about him. I love him against Oakland. I think he's going to do great. And then obviously you're still bottom tier team. So your running backs are Matt Breida and Philip Lindsay. You had a bad streak with Philip Lindsay. He didn't have a good game last week because Kansas City beat the shit out of them. But the weeks before that, he had put up 18 and
he's
22.
Running back one.
Exactly.
Still
so
running back one,
there's an
14.
opportunity for him there to bounce back. And same with Matt Breida. The 49ers run the ball more than any team in the NFL, or second to the Vikings, maybe. And Matt Breida is going to play this week. He only got poked in the eye, which if I got poked in the eye, I'd probably be out for 2 or 3 years.
So you're saying starting Matt Breida is better than a poke in the eye?
What I'm saying is that the poke in the eye, which I think is devastating, it's not that bad, evidently. So he'll be back, and he gets a lot of action. Breida can go off for 20 points at any given time. So I think you got this in the bag. Carlson's just too injured. Devontae Adam Thielen on the bench. Lamar Jackson on bye. He's just rolling over like a bitch in this one.
Eminem has Carlson winning. I'm not sure if he looked at the matchups, but I think
get it.
I think he just saw me and he's like, whoever I'm going against, he's gonna pick. So
yeah, that's probably
that's
true.
Cool. I need that. I need that.
Okay, so we have Carlson going to 2-6, and you going to 2-6. That's two way different feelings of 2-6. One is going to kill himself. The other one is jubilant. Next up is Justin versus Kevin. Justin, the caddy, the golf man, Aiello, and Kevin Kim, alliteration. Justin's 4-3. Kevin's 3-4. Important turning point at the mid-season for these guys. Who do you think wins?
Well, I don't think Justin Sports Brawl needs any more support because it's firm and tight and ready to rock and roll. Yeah, thank you. I love that drop.
Hey, no problem.
Deshaun Watson has been a top 3 quarterback all year. He's kind of been a little wavy. Sometimes he's the clear-cut best quarterback of the week. Other times he's outside the top 14. But I like his matchup against Oakland. I mean, Aaron Rodgers lit Oakland on fire, and Aaron Rodgers hasn't looked good against anybody. On the flip side, he's playing against Aaron Rodgers against KC, which KC proved last week that they could pass rush and they could shut down a team, albeit it was against the Broncos. But
yeah,
I think at home, after a week where Aaron Rodgers might have felt on fire, I think the fire's going to be put out. Deshaun Watson definitely gets the nod there. Melvin Gordon against Chicago. Chicago can't stop the run.
Yeah, that seems to be the recipe. Right?
Yeah. I mean, I think the teams have figured that out, and they're not going to be able. The thing is, the linebackers for Chicago, they're really fast and dynamic, so they're always stopping the pass. But now that they figured out, like, Mitch Trubisky sucks, and like, hey, if we get the lead, if we just hold on to the ball and run it, and they can't stop us, then now Mitch Trubisky has to throw the ball 60 times. So I think they'll see that. I'm a little surprised he's not also starting Austin Eckler, who
I'm shocked at that.
Yeah.
Frankly.
Maybe he hasn't looked at his lineup yet. I don't know. But
he did pay $21 for Eric Ebron, and he's starting Darren Fells. So
okay, yeah.
It's Justin.
So there may be some adjustments coming.
He's sketching murals, but really he should be practicing his cardio with a golf bag on his back.
When he talked about doing his mural, I just imagine him like drawing Daffy Duck because that's the only thing he knows how to draw over and over again. I like DeAndre Hopkins. Obviously, is great. We don't have to talk about him. Julio Jones is obviously great. I don't know how he got on his roster, but he somehow got both of them. Crazy.
Yeah, crazy.
And then Patriots defense is like head and shoulders better than, and they pretty much broke fantasy football. I lost in another league. I don't know, it was faux pas. We're not supposed to talk about this. I was up 20 points against somebody who only had the Patriots D. They scored 24 points and beat me. So they are good, and they're good for at least 10 points would be a bad game for them. I mean, if you look at their scores, it's like first week was 7, then it was 35, 14, 24, 15, 28, 23. That is like an elite quarterback that you have at defense. On the flip side, Kevin Kim is starting LaShawn McCoy, which he's always getting the running back wrong for KC. He flips him back and forth. Whichever one he picks wrong. So that sucks. Devontae Freeman, like I said, the Falcons can't run the football. They're going against Seattle, who want a revenge game after getting not blown out, but a little embarrassed by the Ravens. Marvin Jones, I think will be solid. Michael Thomas is always good and has a good matchup. Hunter Henry has really come back in the fold, but he's going against Chicago, which I said has the fastest linebackers in the league. And the linebackers and the safeties cover the tight end, so I don't think he's going to eat that much. I think it's going to be more on the run game. And then he's starting Chargers against Chicago, which is a solid start, but I don't think that's good enough to beat this team that Sports Bra Justin Aiello has.
Yeah,
so I got Justin going 5-3.
On paper, his team is pretty good, and frankly, the Patriots D has been covering up a lot of his managerial errors. But at 4-3 with the Patriots D, I feel like he's underachieving. Frankly, in all my other leagues, the teams that have the Pats D are 6-1 or 5-2. And granted, maybe that's nitpicking. That's one win, but I don't know. I feel it's underachieving. He's got Darren Felsen. I mentioned he picked up Eric Ebron for $21. Melvin Gordon had 6 points. Austin Eckler had 22 last week. Yet he's not starting Austin Eckler again. Perhaps he just hasn't looked at his team yet. But Kevin Kim's team is reeling. You got to go with Justin in this matchup. And every time I pick Justin, he seems to lose. So I'm gonna continue. To do that. I almost hung.
Oh, there you go.
I almost hung the Dun chain on Kevin.
I like the
and not Ryan, for a lot of the reasons you said. Devonta Freeman sucked all year, and if Matt Ryan's out, he's going to be worse. Without Pat Mahomes, I don't expect the Chiefs to be able to move the ball. And LaShawn McCoy, when it's not him, it's Damian Williams, like you said. He's starting Duke Johnson in the flex. And Duke Johnson, I'm going to go to his score here. He's broken double digits twice. So he's had 11 points in week 1 and 12 points in week 6. Everything else has been under 8 points. So that's not something you're scared about. The mix, really Justin's core of his team with Deshaun Watson and DeAndre Hopkins, who both had good games last week against Oakland. I expect them to do really well. That combination with the Patriots D, those 3 key components right there, I think that's just enough to beat Kevin's team, because I don't think Kevin's team's that good. I don't think Rodgers is going to have another 48-point game. He's been more 12 to 15 points a week. I think last week was more an anomaly than what's to come. Marvin Jones had 4 touchdowns last week. I think he used up the rest of the touchdowns that he has for the rest of the year. He may not score again the rest of the year. And Michael Thomas is the only thing that's good on this Kevin Kim roster. Kevin Kim is going to celebrate the day he makes the playoffs. Let's just say that. I don't think there's good times ahead for him. So,
well, when you pick Duke Johnson in the 3rd round in the draft, you're not going to have a good team.
I didn't hate it at the time. But as the Carlos Hyde owner, I just want to say, of course, you fucking idiot. Everyone knew Carlos Hyde would be superior.
Would be dropped by KC and then picked up by the Texans and start. We all knew.
Idiot. Yeah, I had him when he was a free agent. Total dice roll on that. All right, so enough about me and how much Kevin sucks and how Justin's my caddy. Let's move to the next matchup, which is George versus Josh. This is a close runner-up for Game of the Week, I think. These are 2 teams that are streaking and are top of the league in and top of the league in scoring, and look to be healthy going forward. As far as their roster, I think that they have enviable rosters. Who do you think is going to win this? I think it's probably kind of one-sided.
Yeah, I mean, I really feel bad for George, because every time he wins a game and he's above 500, he loses a very close game that he scores a lot of points, and he's back to square one, and that's going to happen again this week. He has Zeke on bye, Amari Cooper on bye.
Yeah.
He has some bad matchups. Okay, let's start off with what's good for him. Kirk Cousins Thursday night. Actually, I don't even know.
Because Kirk Cousins sucks in primetime.
Yeah, once the lights are on and the sun is down and everybody is watching, Kirk Cousins sucks. It's like that superhero in that movie where he has to, he could only be invisible and no one could see him.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Is it it's like Keenan or Kel or something? I forgot what it was.
Yes, yeah. It was like some Disney movie.
No, it's Mystery Men.
Mystery Men, yes.
With the Blue Raja who throws the spoons.
Exactly. Kirk Cousins, it's just you're watching Reds, he's on Red Zone, and you're like, oh shit, he just threw 4 touchdowns in the 1:00 game against nobody.
And we didn't see it. Yeah.
Exactly. You just see it after it happens. But now when your eyes are on him, I don't think he's usually not good. But I think in a revenge game against Washington, his old team that wouldn't pay him, and now he went to the Vikings and is way overpaid.
Yeah,
I think
I mean,
he's going to want to show them.
There's so much revenge game in this because Case Keenum, who the Vikings passed on, is the QB for the Redskins. And then Adrian Peterson is the running back for the Redskins, who then the Vikings didn't want to pay and let him go. So what's a revenge game?
He's going to play with 3 broken ankles. He's still going to go out there on a short rest like, oh, my back, though. I got this. I'm going to run against my old team, though. Okay, so back to the matchups.
Sure.
I like his matchup of Derrick Henry against Tampa. Well, actually, I don't like. Usually, Tampa Bay is like a home run, great matchup, but they've been really good against the run.
Yeah.
So I'm a little worried for Derrick Henry against Tampa Bay. Wendell Smallwood, like I said, going to Minnesota, that's scary. That could be like
they don't even have a picture of Wendell Smallwood in a Redskins jersey.
Yeah,
it's still him in his Eagles jersey. That's how low profile.
I'm surprised ESPN has even updated that he's on Washington.
May not be him. That might just be like a generic, like African American picture. Because I couldn't tell you what Wendell.
It's like
Smallwood
when you're making a
like.
character on Madden, and it's like that's the default guy. You're like, oh, okay, I guess that's him. He has Jarvis Landry going against New England, the greatest defense of all time, like literally, like the best defense since them, like 80 years ago. Barf. Cooper Kupp against Cincinnati is a good start. I mean, he still has good players, even with
Vince McDonald, Miami
out. Yeah, Vince McDonald against Miami. But I don't think that's enough firepower to beat Josh. Josh has a full roster. He's even sitting Emmanuel Sanders, who I think would be a great start this week against San Francisco. His starting roster, he has Tom Brady against Cleveland. That's a home run. Le'Veon Bell has been solid all year. Nick Chubb, fresh, going against New England, but he's fresh off a bye. He's been running great. Stephon Diggs against Washington. I want some of that. And then John Brown against Philly. I mean, I think you and I should stay limber because I think we could both be cornerbacks right now for Philly.
Philly is giving up everything through the air.
It's bad. It's not a good scene over there. And Chris Herndon, a little bit of sneaky start. I think he's starting him a little bit too early, but it might pay off. We'll see. And Chris Godwin has been he's the number 2 receiver of the year. I mean, outside of I think 1 week, he's been super dominant. And Jags defense against the Jets. I mean, just up and down, his team looks a lot better. It's hard. Yeah, and George already knows it because he changed his team name to Trailer Park TD Trash. So he knows.
George's team is top heavy, and he's got his 2 best guys, Ezekiel and Amari Cooper, who are top 5 at the position, each of them on bye. He needs a full. Josh did that last week and snuck out with a win because he was playing another team that had a huge bye problem in Nieves, and so this week he's at full power against a team that it's at their weakest point. However, George was really weak last week against Justin, was able to steal a win, so you never know any given Sunday. But I'm not going to harp on this too much. The Chris Herndon thing, that's just icing on the cake. He can afford to take a roll the dice with that because he's in a dominant position. If he takes a 0, he doesn't even care. So both these teams are 4-3. They're champing at the bit to get to 5-3 because the huge difference between that and 4-4 as far as positioning for playoffs. And I think Josh takes it. And from a shaky start at the beginning of the season, Josh has come storming back. And like I said, this is one of my favorite teams as far as playoff contender. And I continue to, I'm going to plant my flag on that and continue to do so. That I think he's going to be there to the end. And I expect to have to play him in the playoffs because I'm obviously going to make it too. All right.
Eminem had Kevin in the Justin Kevin matchup. I guess he still didn't. He didn't look at that one either. He just saw Justin's name and he picked Kevin. And George, and then he actually has Josh for this one. Actually, this just real quick on this matchup. Everyone likes both of these teams. Everyone likes George. Everyone likes Josh.
Yeah, correct.
If either of them won the championship, everyone would be like, "Oh, okay." It is like having 2 Canadians, even though they're not Canadians. They're like Canadians to me because I feel like they're not going to talk shit to each other and be like, "Ooh, sorry for your loss."
Oh, sorry.
Oh, so sorry.
Oh, so sorry like, there.
So sorry. Yeah. Sorry that I made it so close, even though all my guys are on bye and I'm a little struggling this week. Sorry.
No, it's okay there. It's okay there, buddy. Yeah, it's just we're all playing a game of fantasy football for us to all enjoy each other's company and camaraderie. Instead of Justin and I are like, fuck you, you're going to be my slave for a weekend. I'm going to smear shit on your wall to your house. little different. Yeah.
I was so wasted at the draft, and I was like, when you guys were talking about this, I was like, I need to document this because I need everyone to remember this somehow. Because
yeah, I I'm a man of my word, so
yeah. You're not gonna pull a Noste. I mean,
no, I'm not a Welcher. I'm not a Noste.
Yeah.
Speaking of, we have coming up, that's a segue, folks. Mushkin versus Welcher versus Noste. That's right. Noste and Welcher are the same person.
That's how the pros do it right there, folks.
Yeah.
Eminem, Doval, take note. That's how the pros do it.
Oh, yeah. Home run. Woo!
Look at him go.
So Mushkin has had a tough week. This has not been a Mushkin luck week. I don't know if you guys are familiar, but he has Kerryon Johnson on his roster. Kerryon Johnson has ruptured his knee in many different places. I don't know what had happened to it, but it's broken. And he's gone to IR. That was a staple of Mr. Steven Mushkin's team. And in addition to that, the coming hot on the scene with a 50-point game where he destroyed his fellow Hat friend in Kansas City, Will Fuller, he's torn his hamstring as well. And his next runner-up for wide receiver and Christian Kirk, he's suffering from injuries. So a rash of injuries have happened to Steven all at once. And in addition to that, he's been heavily relying on Mark Ingram from the Ravens, who are on bye. So Mushkin, even though he snuck out with a loss last week, he's not feeling very good this week. It seems like a little karma came his way for the free win he got. And in his lamentations, I was able to get my handcuff from him. For if anybody knows how hard it is to get your handcuff from Steven Mushkin, it's basically a miracle what I was able to pull off. So I mean, who do you think is going to win here, Eric? If I didn't tease that well enough.
Real quick, I want you to give us a little bit of a step-by-step on how you made that trade, how it went with Steven. Was that because usually when I make trades, let's say with Carlson, it's he makes an offer, I say yes or no, or I do I exchange a different offer. Okay, how about that guy with this and this? And it's yes or no, or let's talk about next week. And usually that's discussion. And that's usually how it goes with
a normal
people. Yeah. But walk us through how that process went with Mushkin.
Okay. Well, me and Steven have a checkered past. And so I've instituted a policy with him that we will not talk about trades, period. I go, okay, great. But you send it to me in ESPN. I don't want to talk about it. You send it to me so I have the option to accept it or not. So we don't have a lot of trade conversations anymore. This is going back 2 or 3 years. Occasionally I'll get a message from him soliciting offers where he's like, hey man, let's make a trade. And I'm like, okay, cool. What's your offer? And he's like, no, you offer me something. And I'm like, if that's not the laziest way to trade, I don't know what is. And that's infuriating. You come up, let's make a trade. And I'm like, oh, what do you want? And it's I don't know. You do all the work and tell me that. And so I can reject all the offers that you give me. And so so me and him don't make very many trades. And thus, I don't even talk to him in the Hangouts for trades. This trade really went, I just sent it in the ESPN app, expecting it to be immediately
rejected,
as he usually does. But I thought he looked vulnerable because since Kerryon went down and Ingram has a bye, he needed a second person to start. And I was just like, Miles Sanders probably better start than Alexander Madison. Maybe. I don't know. And, at least more upside.
Yeah.
Because it's the same thing. Madison only becomes relevant on an injury. Miles Sanders, sort of the same thing. But maybe he wins the role by being better. But yeah, then the rest is history. The blockbuster trade. I got the handcuff.
Wow. What?
Right.
What a deal.
What a deal, right?
I've never made it happen. I try being nice. I try being mean. I try to be reasonable. I try to be crazy, and just nothing works with him.
No, and then he'll go all the way to the altar. He's got his wedding dress on. And then, but underneath there, instead of high heels, he's got sneakers on.
Exactly.
And at the last second, he's going to sprint out the door, just knocking over, not paying the caterer, just fucking knocking the grandma over and running out the door.
I'm
surprised he and Ben are friends after the trade fallout that between the two of them.
I was about to say that's probably why Ben moved out of his apartment. He's like, fuck you, dude. You pulled out this trade. I'm leaving early. Good luck getting the rent by yourself.
Okay, so we've gotten way off track here.
Okay.
Point is, we're picking no stick.
Yeah.
Right?
Clean sweep. Eminem got him too. Doughboy hasn't done his picks per usual, but I'm sure he has no stick too.
Yeah, both these guys are 4-3, and a really important game for them. But Nosta gets Mushkin on a tough week with the buys and the injuries, and Nosta's team is full strength for whatever that is,
So we'll move on here to Eminem versus MDK. Both of these teams have been trending in different directions. MDK has some great firepower in the greatest running back of all time, Christian McCaffrey. Hasn't had to make any moves all year because he's scoring a shit ton of points. Even though he's only 4-3, he's still a perennial championship team. While Eminem's had some serious injuries, he's been waiting for AJ Green to come back. Still hasn't recovered. Has had more injuries than Kamara, and Juju losing Big Ben has been a huge blemish on his team. So I've picked Nieves on this matchup. I just think he has too much firepower to for Eminem to get over. Who you got?
I actually am gonna go the other way here. I'm gonna go the numbers like Nieves. I like Matt Martin's team just because I don't like. I think in a neutral, if we just pick these players in a vacuum, you go with Danny. But the matchups that Nieves has are not good. Carson Wentz at Buffalo, and Carson Wentz just struggled to the tune of 8 points against a good defense. I expect him to do the same. I would be shocked if he gets over 12 points. McCaffrey, who's been unstoppable the entire season, coming off a bye. If there's a defense that's going to stop him this year, it's either the Pats or San Francisco 49ers, and the 49ers at home. He's going east. I mean, you can't love that. And James Conner, even though he's expected to play, may or may not, and he's an injury risk or might be splitting time with Benny Snell. So I don't love that. His Detroit Lions, Kenny Galladay, great matchup against the Giants, and the guy you just picked up, Ty Johnson. If he was starting him in the flex, I would kind of lean more Nieves' way, but he's not. He's got James White in there, and I don't think they're going to need James White to catch any passes against Cleveland. Larry Fitzgerald, who's been very solid all year, is at New Orleans, another terrible matchup. And then Evan Ingram, who's been very hit or miss, is at Detroit, which has been a good defense. So although the quality of his players are good, I don't like his matchups. Where Matt Martin, on the other hand, I love his matchups. Russell Wilson, who's been the number one QB on the year, at Atlanta, he might get 50 points. I mean, I lost to Matt Martin with Russell Wilson putting up 45 points on my face. This can definitely happen. Lat Murray, he's got the combination Alvin Kamara. Whoever's going to start is against Arizona. They're like a turnstile. Tyreek Hill, tough matchup against Green Bay, and I don't even know if Matt Moore is going to throw to the guy. So I don't love that, and obviously Matt's team has holes in it. But I'm like buying the Ryan Tannehill shit in Tennessee, and I like Corey Davis. I would be like picking him in DFS. I would start him in other places that I have him. Didn't practice today with an illness, which might derail that entire thing. But I would just be like immediately, betting on Corey Davis.
Yeah, I agree.
think like Tannehill is actually going to get it done. And then Gerald Everett, who's very boomer bust, but they got a great matchup against Cincinnati. And then what about Juju Smith-Schuster, who sucked all year? Literally the worst team in the NFL, the Miami Dolphins. That's who he's playing on Monday night. Who the Dolphins are terrible on Monday night. Juju Smith-Schuster might have 25 points. And then finally, Matt Martin has Vikings D against Washington. I think Matt Martin's matchups, almost top to bottom, are phenomenal, and matchups can overcome inequality in players sometimes, and I think that's going to happen this week. So I think Matt gets to 4-4 and sends Danny, who was a front runner for the playoffs, to 4-4 and kind of puts him in a little bit of limbo. And I don't know, is that going to force his hand to make some moves? I doubt it. He's definitely the most absentee owner, but he pays attention. He sets his lineups, makes his moves. But Nieves has taken the crown from George, from the person who sits on his hands the most. By far, Nieves is the one who is reluctant to trade, move players, even drop players the most. And that's our show, folks.
Thank you, guys. Love you.
Yeah. So good luck in this coming week, and fuck off. Yeah. You're a fucking loser. You suck at fantasy football, and you don't know why you play. It makes you feel bad during the week. More stress, more money, more stress. Why'd I do this? Oh God. Fantasy football, yeah.
Still gonna do it next year anyways. For a small fee, the people over at Nosonomics will share their how do you say that word? Proprietary. Hook on phonics works for me.